Back in the winter, Ohio State coach Ryan Day told us that he had gone looking for answers as to why Marvin Harrison Jr.'s the flag for targeting was picked up against Georgia in the Peach Bowl playoff semifinal, and I don't think he was completely satisfied with the answers he got, and I'm sure Ohio State fans aren't either. And today we got some more answers from Bill Carrillo, the Big Ten's coordinator of football officials. We are at Big Ten Media Days. It's the second day. Ohio State went yesterday. Today was Michigan and Wisconsin and some other folks, and Bill Carrillo. And Andrew, you went over and talked to him. What did he have to say about what should have happened, in his opinion, on that call?
Well, so the first thing that he wanted to emphasize was that it was a Pac-12 crew. So, it wasn't a Big Ten crew. It wasn't kind of his group of officials. And, he mentioned the first thing was, I would have been good with the call on the field, which was obviously targeting. Then, you would have had an ejection. Ohio State would have had the ball inside. I would have been at the 1 yard line or inside the 2 or whatever it would have been. And then it would have been an 11-point game. And I think you can kind of draw your own conclusions as to that. So it was obviously a big play. And I think he recognized that. So we talked about that a lot. The thing that I thought was interesting was he kind of mentioned that in those situations he likes to have a personal foul with the targeting call. So it's it would be like hitting a defenseless receiver with the targeting call. So in that situation, what would have happened is Ohio State would have had the first down no matter what, and then the only thing you review is the targeting. So even if you want to wipe away the targeting, he mentioned, look, if 80% of the defender hits the defenseless receiver, but 20% only hits the head, it still knocked the guy out. It still took him out with a concussion. It still was a vicious blow. He called the play. He talked about that and just kind of was like, look, this was an unnecessary play. Yeah, dangerous. That was the word. I couldn't find dangerous. He said it was a dangerous play. I talked to him too. So he said it was a dangerous play, and I just think that I think was kind of the thing that he really wanted to emphasize, was that in those situations, if you see a vicious hit, a dangerous hit, a play like that, call the penalty, call a personal foul, then you can go review for targeting and decide if you want the guy out of the game or not, because then either way, the team that has that happen to them, the offensive team, they get the first down, they get the 15 yards. And he mentioned we're probably not talking about it as much if there was this personal foul, called, and then you just take the targeting off. Because if they take the targeting off, yeah, you lose Marvin Harrison Jr. for the game, but Ohio State still has first and goal. Like, that game might end differently, and there are a lot of Ohio State fans that probably say that game does end differently. So the personal foul thing I thought was really interesting in him saying, look, even if you want to waive off targeting, there was another way for Ohio State to get a first down there.
What he explained changed the way I thought about this a little bit, because I don't think in the immediate aftermath we were thinking that through, that there might have been that option that you could have a personal foul and targeting and then go adjudicate the targeting aspect of it but keep the personal foul, because the targeting is where all of the gray area comes in. Like, what is what isn't, and whose opinion sees it which way. There's a lot more ambiguity to that, no matter how much they've tried to put some certainty into the rule. And Stephen, how much is this going to linger for Ohio State fans who, yes, you still lose Marvin Harrison Jr. You still wouldn't have had Cade Stover for most of that game. You still would have had a really kind of chewed up running back situation for that game. But in that situation, they would have been knocking on the door for points, probably getting in. You're thinking at least 3 more points. It's a 1-point loss for a team that went and won the national championship game by 1,000 points.
I think as that information trickles out to the fans, they're going to get all ticked off all over again. I think maybe if it was starting to simmer down, you hear Big Ten officials say that. It doesn't help you, though, because as he made sure to say, this is not my fault. I teach my guys this. That was a Pac-12. So that creates a difference, which is part of the reason why they do it in both seasons, where whatever conferences are involved, neither one of their conferences refs are usually involved with the game. But it makes you want to go talk to Pac-12 refs. It makes you want to go talk to SEC refs and Big 12 refs, because that's in the Big 10, They're teaching their refs, call both. Because that's kind of like a safety net for you in a way. That doesn't mean Pac-12 is getting taught the same thing. Doesn't mean the SEC is getting taught the same thing. And so all we got was more clarity, but the clarity doesn't help the situation, because you can't be mad at the Big Ten refs, because if I'm a fan, those aren't the refs that, quote-unquote, cost me a national championship.
Well, and the truth is that there probably will be now a teachable moment that they will get passed around to these other conferences. And so this incident maybe prevents the next one, or I shouldn't say prevents, helps the next one be called more correctly. or in a way that would have allowed the kind of flexibility to decide it. But unfortunately, like as you say, there's no putting the tube back in the toothpaste for Ohio State fans.
Well, and there's the thing that I think he didn't say this. This is just me kind of inferring. It was a little bit of a unique situation because he mentioned with the personal foul and the targeting, that's a situation you see when the quarterback is sliding. Like how many times have you heard that? The quarterback runs out of the pocket, slides, and then you get a personal foul targeting for hitting a defenseless player, and you get the targeting on top of that. That's kind of the situation you normally see that in. This was a little bit different. This was a little bit unique. I mean, that's just me inferring. I think that might have played into it as well, that's why you don't get it, because you think wide receiver going for the ball. It's a different situation, but I think that just kind of that, putting it in a different place on the field entirely, I think that kind of changed things. But yeah, I think you're right. The personal foul thing, I think that changed my mind for sure.
And the other thing is, we'd also talk about this differently if Marvin Harrison Jr. had not had concussion symptoms and had to stay out of the game. If Marvin Harrison Jr. had been able to come back in and play the game, maybe that changes the end of this game. So there's a lot of what-ifs here that are never going to get fully answered for the satisfaction of Ohio State fans. But it was interesting to hear Bill Carrillo give some more voice to the people who think that this was called wrong the whole time. We're wrapping things up from Big Ten Media Days, but Ohio State preseason camp starts on August 3rd. So get the text 614-350-3315. It's $3.99 a month, but it's a 2-week free trial to take you through the start of preseason camp. You can try us out here at Buckeye Talk.